We are made to believe that relationships are about sacrifice, right? And the Radha Krishna domain, quite often, if you look at the storyline, see there is deep selfless sacrifice involved, And let me tell you, that's not practical. It is just the kind of selfless sacrifice that is expected by religions and spirituality and what we are made to believe, neki kar darya mein dal. There is obviously a space for it, and each of us should do it, and there are levels to which it can be done, and there are levels beyond which it is not practical unless you are enlightened already. If you are enlightened, then the whole dynamics of life change. Then you can totally move into deep levels of selfless sacrifice. Okay, but let me tell you, even the enlightened masters that I have served, though their disciples will talk about sacrifice, they are very highly self-oriented souls. I'll not use the word self-centered or selfish because these words have negative connotations. But they are highly self-oriented. I don't know. I mean, would there be an enlightened person who will tell ये मेरा ना टूथब्रश है और मेरा जिंदगी तो सबके लिए है ना, तो मेरा टूथब्रश कोई भी यूज कर सकता है? No, na. He won't say. We can't make. So if that applies to toothbrush, why should that not necessarily apply to, it can also apply to your car, and it can also apply to your value systems to some extent, definitely apply to your spouse. So, to what extent these selfless sacrifice, okay, see, when you are topped up, and in that moment you sacrifice a lot for the other person, perfectly fine. You say you are a crorepati and you give away a few lakhs, or you give away a crore also, suppose you have 5 crores. Practical, right? But if you have 5 lakhs, can you even give 5,000? So there are times when selfless sacrifice is practical. There are moments which demand selfless sacrifice. There are merits to selfless sacrifice, but to what extent is it practical? So we have to navigate that space, which is the space of give and take, generally, and the space of sacrifice occasionally. I am not against sacrifice, nor am I only for give and take. Okay, we cannot make everything transactional also, right? So, but to what extent can you actually sacrifice? And the whole essence of relationships lies in the extent to which give and take is balanced. We can come from either a conditioning that giving is healthier than receiving, or giving is higher than taking, but it doesn't work. It will work in the short term, it will work for a few months, but beyond that, if there is imbalance, then do whatever is required to bring back balance, instead of trying to become saintly. You understand? Do whatever is required, because sooner or later the resentment will catch on, the bitterness will catch on, the lopsidedness will catch on, So here the efforts to bring back balance are far more important in the relationship, even if that involves friction, then to keep on giving and giving and giving. So this is one area where the way we step down from Radha Krishna, instead of selfless sacrifice, can we come from mutual reciprocity. Okay, mutual reciprocity, or just reciprocity, actually it is mutual. Okay, but mutual reciprocity kind of adds that emphasis that it has to be mutual, has to be reciprocal, you know. So can we, so which also essentially means that if you are taking more than you are giving, then either you reduce your taking or you increase your giving. Two solutions. If you are giving more than you are taking, then either increase your taking, or, which you will be surprised, reduce your giving, because the resentment will catch up otherwise. If you don't want to become bitter of the other person, you should also learn how not to give too much. If you want to keep the relationship balanced, then let it actually be balanced. So depending on what your personality is, whether you are a taker or a giver, to that extent you have to decide what is it that you have to up level or what is it that you have to down level. And when you bring back a relationship to a circular giving and taking, in fact, if the relationship is balanced in give and take, then both the people will be able to come from a space of sacrifice more often. You understand? It is obvious, right? Because now you are more topped up. You are more topped up. The other person's giving has, or your taking has enriched you. It has enriched you so you can give more. And you know it is balanced, so you are motivated to give more. Otherwise you start either checking out or you start clinging, which are the two polarities. So essentially you have to try and bring, and this is across the board of all relationships. You look at a supplier and a customer, it's not going to last. In any business transaction, by definition itself, give and take is balanced. So therefore it doesn't last only. But besides professional relationships where it cannot last because they are transactional relationships, they are by default, you have come together like two businessmen or two professionals where the taking, you are not felt guilty about taking or receiving, right, in a business transaction or in a professional transaction. That is a part of the game. But it is only in personal relationships where taking or receiving or asking is where you start feeling guilty about, you know, or giving is something, or taking is something which comes naturally to you because you have taken the other person for granted, and there is, instead of respect, there is love, you know. So it is in personal relationships where it gets more cranky of sorts, because the conditioning is different and the way it works is different. So a personal relationship will also work the same way a healthy professional relationship works, when there is a balance of give and take, you know, regardless of what relationship it is. Yeah, it could be such that for a few months one person is perhaps giving more, another is receiving more. I am not denying that there won't be some sort of a lopsidedness. It will be a thoroughly balanced thing always, but by and large, you know, that circle has to keep